Hello and welcome back. Finally got this thing cleaned. It took forever. That's probably the longest it'll take is, cleaning all of this stuff up. So, fair warning, it takes a while. We're going to start the assembly on this thing. And first, I think what we're going to do is get everything done that we need to do on the bottom of here. This is the needle and seat. Obviously, the old needle's right here. That is the seat, though. We have to change this gasket for the accelerator pump. Those parts are right here. So here we go.
This is much better lighting now.
This thing's kind of held in there by pressure. You have to remove that to actually interesting. I don't know if we should change that cone. I don't like the design on it. Okay, we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way with taking it off like this. Just be careful not to rip your new one putting it on. That's actually probably still good, but I don't know. We'll change it anyway. Because there's nothing worse than having no accelerator pump. It drives me nuts. Okay. Gotta stretch this over that. And put your spring in.
Can't see nothing.
Sorry.
The big meaty claws.
Well, that's in there. So that's first step already done. Where's your giant one? I don't know if I have a big enough handle on that. Yep. See how it's gasketed? Make sure you put the new gasket on there. It's all clean. And we did blow every orifice. We didn't show that on camera, but we did blow every orifice, every hole out with compressed air and a blowgun. I did feel a lot of dirt come out of some of the holes and hit my hand, so I know they're clean. The new needle and seat are in a nice little bag for us. Needles in seat looks different. It's weird.
Hopefully that rain doesn't pick up too much.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay. Now, I usually wait until we're putting this down on there because these get screwed up to where you got to reset them. This is why they give you this, to set your float, so you can measure it out with how much it goes up and down inside the bowl. Now, they do give you extra gaskets in these kits. If you got leftover gaskets, don't freak out thinking you didn't put them all in, because they give you extras because there's so many different model of carburetors out there, and I think they give you the extras for the other models. So don't freak out. It'll be okay. I'm going to put these jets back in. This one just happens to have 49 for a size for jets on both of them. Need that. I don't think. Yeah. These weren't gasketed. They already seat by themselves in there. So you don't really need a gasket for those. They're kind of tapered. I don't know if you can see the taper here, but it does have a taper. Might have to put those in the hole with a pair of needle nose. Jet number 2. I don't know if it'll focus on there. The jet size is right printed here, stamped. It says 49. Obviously, you're going to have to do a spark plug reading test. But if you've already rebuilt it and it's running really rich, it's either because you have your idle air mixture screws not set right correctly, or the jets are way too big for that carburetor. So you can rejet these to the best specification depending on how rich or lean your engine runs. But how you fine tune a carburetor is changing these jets. Way too big.
How are you making these?
I just get them hand tight, give it a good amount of pressure, but not too much. They are brass. But they did not give us a new power valve. That is a power valve for one of these carburetors. I don't know if some of you guys took apart a Holly, but they are completely different looking than the power valves found in those carburetors.
That still works.
I did blow this out pretty good, so it should be okay. Now, there's like 2 orifices in there, and I think they lead out to vacuum ports, because that's essentially what your power valve will do. Is immediately off the idle circuit, this makes up for the loss of vacuum and squirts more fuel into the cylinder. Making sure that gasket seats correctly. And I usually tighten these about as tight as I did the jets. Maybe just a crank tighter, just to make sure. Now, this kit did come with a new spring. On these carburetors, it has a port in under the Venturi assembly here. And it comes with this very, very fine spring. There is a ball, a check ball that goes underneath this spring, along with this T, if you can see it. Do not forget to put the check ball in there, because you will have so many problems with runnability issues and you won't be able to figure out where the heck it's coming from. So make sure you remember to put that in there. Now, this kit came with two different sizes. I don't know if you can see the size differences. One's small and one is very large. Ours has the large version of that ball, so that is what's going in back in there. We probably could use the original one, but we'll put the new one in there. But where this thing goes, I don't know if it'll focus in. You see that port that has slots in it on the side? That is where that check ball rests. So drop the check ball in there, then the spring, and then the T that holds that in there by pressure. Okay. The new spring. And they gave us a new T. Yeah. I'm probably going to use it just because I like using the original stuff because it fits a lot better. Because they never get these right within spec to where they fit good. But we'll try it. Grab it with a pair of needle nose in the center. This obviously goes over the spring. Hold it down with your finger, but it's probably going to need a good old taparoo on that. So, not really a hammer, but it works. Okay. See where it's located. Next, we're going to put, now I need to figure out why it gave us the extra one. I don't think we're going to need that one. It must be for the other style. They gave us this extra gasket, but I don't think it goes in anywhere because you can't separate this assembly at all. So this is the gasket for that. Make sure you line up all the holes the way they need to go. Some of these are a little bit different. There is tubes that need to go underneath this gasket first before you put the gasket in. I got ahead of myself and started putting the gasket in and forgot those tubes were laying there. These have a certain pattern the way they go. If you can see these tubes, how they're shaved off on one side, make sure you line that up to that index so they sit below the gasket. Make sure those tubes don't move when you're putting the gasket in. Just kind of seat it down in there nice and flush. Use your fingernail to kind of get it to seat in the corners. Make sure all the holes line up. Basically, where you want it to be held in with pressure is where all the holes line up initially. And then, that's about where I got it to seat at. As you can tell, all the holes are lined up. Now we can drop the Venturi assembly down in. And you would do that to me. This might take a couple of tries. Sometimes they don't line up too well when you're sliding them down in. Mine are a little bent, so I'm going to bend them back. I must have bumped them when I was removing them. Okay. Just whatever you do, don't break those off of there. Okay, that's where she's going to live. And those, if you remember earlier, they have certain size screws that go in there. These are them. The biggest head one goes in the center. So let's not do that.
Sorry, folks. His giant meaty claws are in the way, so I'm trying.
Yeah, I got big hands.
You know what that means?
You know what they say about big hands.
Big gloves.
Just when you're screwing this down, don't immediately put pressure on this. You want to get these other ones seated with this. Just a little bit of pressure to get it to sit inside that gasket and settle. And get these to sit same way. And then we'll go around and retorque them. I'm sure there's torque specs to this. I always feel out with my hand how tight to do them. You don't want them extremely tight, but you want them tight enough to where they're not loosening up once this thing has a chance to heat up and cool down and heat up and cool down. So about that tight. Good amount of pressure on there, but not too much. Okay. I think we're going to put the base on next. This is the throttle plate, also known as the base of the carburetor. Now, there is probably a certain way this sits down in there. Yep, just like that. So I guess what you want to do is line up these dowels, put that on there first. Obviously it goes a certain way. That's what I just said. So we're going to roll with that. Just like that. And drop this on there. Alrighty.
Little guy looks distressed.
Huh?
The face. You don't see the face?
Oh. That's pretty funny. So the screws for this are the big Phillips. I kind of separated them from the top hat Phillips. You can tell they're bigger size. If it's your first time rebuilding one of these, it's kind of hard to screw them up. The biggest thing you can screw up on them is the gasket alignment. Because there's, a couple different combinations with how they sit down in there. And there's my Phillips. Same thing with these, get them seated and then go around and retorque them. You don't want to do them really tight immediately. tensioning them up. You just want them to sit on that gasket, go around, and retighten them up. Oh, another thing, be careful too not to get any crap in these needles. Okay, tighten this one. And this one. So this is probably the most important one you want to be tight, because this is where you're going to get all your vacuum leaks from, because this is the main vacuum assembly where it gets all of its vacuum for this middle body of the carburetor. I'm really not sure what this is called. I need to find that out. Another thing too that I forgot to do, it's a lot easier to put them on when the base is off of this. Actually, we could call this the bowl assembly because that's the bowl. We'll just go with that. I took off all these idle air screws because I cleaned them up. I had a bunch of gunk on them, so they go right back in those holes there. And don't immediately tighten them up with a screwdriver. Just thread them on first. Make sure they're, because these are fine thread. You do not want to cross thread those. You'll never get one tight, or it'll break off. But we are going to adjust those when we get the carburetor back on the truck, because this is where you get most of your vacuum from. When you're adjusting the carburetor to run correctly, you adjust these until you have max vacuum to where it runs the best. So I run them in, turn them out about 3 full turns. Actually, yeah, we'll do 3.